What's going on, Patriots Nation? This is Jace and Cole back with the Patriots Draft Podcast. Got a lot of coaching rumors going around the league, both with the Patriots and other teams. We're going to make sure to talk about those. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. Let us know down below what you think, who you want as the next head coach. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. All right, guys, there is a ton of news, and we all know, at the last month or the first Monday of the NFL offseason, once the regular season ends, there's tons of firings. Had a huge surprise one today, which we're going to talk about, and tons of rumors surrounding the Patriots and who they're going to have at the helm after this season. Is it going to be Bill, or who is it going to be someone else? So, Cole, the question we're going to ask today, and I'm going to ask you right now, is it time for the Patriots to move on from Bill Belichick?
I never thought that this would be a topic that we'd be discussing if you would have asked me this 5 years ago, and I never thought this would be my answer, but I think it is. I think at this point, by no means am I saying Belichick is not a good coach anymore. He's absolutely he's the greatest coach of all time, and he's still one of the top coaches, if not the top coach in the NFL. He's phenomenal as a coach, but at this point in his career, there was so much dysfunction this past season. He finally got an OC. He brought in Bill O'Brien instead of Matt Patricia, even though he wanted to keep Patricia, but he let Bill O'Brien come in, and then he didn't let Bill O'Brien bring a staff with him. So it's like, no, you can come here, but you're going to work with the guys I want you to work with. And so there's just, I think probably from day one, there was a little bit of dysfunction starting early. And not only that, but Trent Brown came out today and was talking about some personnel decisions Bill made by trading Shaq Mason for a bag of chips, letting Ted Karras go after he, did all that he did the couple of years he was here. He worked super hard, and he was really impressive he was above expectations at least for my expectations. So he did good. Now he's a captain and Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee on the Bengals. So there's just been so many different things. Juju Smith-Schuster instead of Jacoby Myers, passing on A.J. Brown for N'Keal Harry. We know it all. Does he know how to draft defensive players? Yes. Taking Cole Strange in the first round when you could have kept Shaq Mason or used Ted Karras or something like that. It's just so many different things have led to where the Patriots roster is so balanced points per game this year. Bottom of the barrel. That's just no excuse for that. We've known for years the Patriots offense has struggled. He didn't do anything about it. He has consistently made bad free agent signings on the offense side of the ball. Nelson Aguilar, Jonnu Smith. It's frustrating. It's tough. He said the other day, if we decide collaboratively that it's the best thing for me to just coach and not have my hand in personnel, okay, I'm willing to do that. But I have final say at the end of the day. So it doesn't really seem like he's open to that. I just don't think it would work if he's still here and he's not in charge of personnel. I just think there would be more dysfunction because he knows what he wants to do. He's ran the team for so long. Would I love for him to give it up and let somebody else control it and he coaches? Yes, but I just don't think it would work. I think at this point it is time. I have no doubt that he can go to a different roster and just be a head coach and have success. But at the end of the day, I think it's time for a fresh start in New England for both him and the Patriots themselves. So I think it's time.
Yeah, and I think even 2 years ago, he would have been like, there's no one you want more than Bill Belichick to lead this team into, you have a rookie quarterback who just made the Pro Bowl. He goes and makes a head scratching hire at Matt Patricia as OC, Joe Judge quarterback coach. I think the reason I'm ready to move on from Bill Belichick is because, like you mentioned, the drafting woes and kind of the stubbornness he's had, letting other people come in, Bill O'Brien not being able to hire anyone else, the misses he's had in free agency. It's just been head scratching, and he's had opportunities to turn this around, right? Like, he's been the GM, and he's had opportunities to sign these players, and it's just been getting worse and worse progressively. This roster 3 years ago was significantly better than it was last year. And, you have a guy on a rookie contract for quarterback. He's not the guy. We found that out this year, but you screw that whole thing up. It's crazy. So now we're sitting here, and the reason I want the Patriots to move on from him is because of the news that came out in the NFL today. The Tennessee Titans fired head coach Mike Vrabel, which I think is a head-scratching move. This is one of the best head coaches in the NFL. And I love Mike Vrabel, and I think players love him too. So if you are a Bill Belichick guy, which I think both of us are, the coach, Bill Belichick, There's no one better. Mike Vrabel's a Bill Belichick guy, but he's a player's coach. Every player in that Tennessee Titans locker room speaks so highly of Mike Vrabel. They love him as a coach. He's passionate. He's energetic. He's going to be a defensive-minded guy like Bill, so maybe he'll give the reins to, say, Josh McDaniels if he comes back, or Bill O'Brien if he stays at quarterback, and he'll be able to run the defense with Gerard Mayo or whoever. So just because Mike Vrabel is out there, I don't know if you're ever going to find a better fit for the Patriots at head coach. And to move on from the greatest head coach of all time in Bill Belichick, it's not easy to replace him. But to go and you have an opportunity to sign a guy or hire a guy like Mike Vrabel, to me, it's a no-brainer, and it's going to be hard to part with Bill. But there's no better time to do it because of who's available and his connections with the Patriots staff and stuff. So it's hard for me to say to move on from Bill Belichick, but the last couple of years, I think that has kind of been pointing out. And for me, I want to see him go get that wins record. I want to see him maybe chase another Super Bowl. I don't think it's likely he does that in New England. So if he can go to a more stable situation with, the Chargers or something where he has a quarterback set in place and, some talent on the roster and they have an early first round pick, and we'll talk about a trade here for him soon. But for me, it's just, I think it's time for him to move on and maybe, not become the villain in New England. Let him be the hero and let him get out of here while he can.
Yeah. And I think just to kind of wrap up on Bill, one of the last reasons, and you kind of touched on it, was just ruining Mac Jones in every sense possible. This guy was a Pro Bowl quarterback, went to the playoffs his first year, and has been downhill ever since then. He did nothing to support him. He didn't put a competent O-line in front of him. He didn't put any wide receiver weapons around him. He got rid of his favorite target, Jacoby. He has done everything to ruin a young quarterback, and he is so stuck in his ways that I do not trust him to develop anybody else. If you get Drake May in here, you get Jaden Daniels, you get Michael Penix, Caleb Williams, any of these guys, I don't trust that he's going to do anything differently. Why would I believe that? He just ruined Mac Jones and did nothing to try to support him. Why would I believe that he's going to support these guys now? So you need a new head of your franchise as far as the quarterback position goes. It's a huge position. You need a guy and you need to develop him. And what's so important to that, as we've talked about many times on the podcast, is getting him a good wide receiver, whether that's free agency, the draft, whatever. We haven't been able to develop any offensive players as far as especially the skill positions. So, I mean, how many tight ends have we whiffed on between Dalton Keene and Asiasi, and then wide receivers of Taekwon, N'Keal Harry? It's been tough. Unless the guy plays the slot, they're no good to the Patriots. So I don't know. It's just, I think a new era of Patriots football needs to begin, and that starts with a new quarterback here, a new coach, new GM. I think that's the best thing for the team at this point. I think things need to be switched up a little bit because it has not been happening the past few years. It's just been going downhill further and further. So if you're going to get a new QB, I think that's going to be best. But I think every coach that we're going to talk about here today, between Gerard Mayo, Vrabel, and Belichick, these guys are leaders of men. These guys are coaches that their players want to play for. I mean, you saw how hard the Patriots defense was playing to end out the season. It almost was frustrating because we're like, we're going to lose a top 5 pick because this defense is playing lights out.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with Vrabel. Like, the Titans just upset the Jaguars to kick them out of the playoffs. That was huge when they had no business winning that football game. So that is what you want to see. You want a guy who was a leader of men like that, who their players want to play for. And I think any one of these guys is going to do that.
Yeah, and talk about a little poetic justice. Who ruined the dynasty? It was the Titans and Mike Vrabel, right? Last game Brady played.
Brady.
Let's get him back and let's have him start a new one. So, I'm all for it. You don't have many head coaches, especially with the ties he does to Robert Kraft in New England, come around very often. So go out and get Mike Vrabel. Now that leads us to the question and, the debate. There's been a lot of reports, the Patriots are going to move on. No, the Patriots are going to keep Bill Belichick. Cole, where do you stand on what we should do with him? Should we fire him outright? Should we let him go? Or should we at least try to get some compensation for Bill? Because I do think if you look at like Sean Payton last year, he had to get traded for picks to go from New Orleans to the Broncos. Like, I don't think we should let Bill Belichick walk for nothing. Like, this is the greatest coach of all time. Someone's got to give up something for him, in my opinion, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I think. But every report that I have seen, and I've seen a bunch over the past couple of days, contradicts that. They say it is very, very unlikely that Belichick gets traded. And I don't know if this is probably partially to do with him and partially to do with just the NFL in general, but I don't think he's going to make it easy for the Patriots to just send him off somewhere and get compensation back. I don't know. I think he probably feels like he deserves better than that. He deserves to pick his own spot. And maybe they can work something out where he's like, I want to go to Atlanta. And Kraft's like, okay, let me contact Atlanta. We'll see what they will offer and we'll figure something out. That would be great because it would be a real shame to get nothing in return for a coach that's the caliber of Bill Belichick. It's also, I don't know how it works with him being the GM and coach. I don't know if that changes things. I don't know how that would be with a contract. Um, but the Titans just announced today that, well, the reports were that the Titans fired Vrabel instead of trading him because a trade was going to take too much time to develop and they'd miss out on head coaching candidates. So if you are going to trade Belichick, it needs to happen here quickly. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's already a couple open spots. Atlanta was one that a lot of people have talked about. They're interested in Belichick. They already fired their head coach. If you're going to move on from him, get on the phone with Atlanta, send him to the other conference, and get a little bit of compensation back. Maybe you can get their second round pick, which is a pretty early second round pick, something like that. Even just something to get compensated for Belichick being here. He's a great coach. We deserve to get something in return. But every report points to us either firing him or it being a mutual parting of ways. Maybe he ends up staying. I'll believe he's gone when I see it, uh, just because he's been here so long. It's the same thing with Brady. I didn't believe he was going to leave until he finally did, and then it's like, okay, well, I guess he's gone. But you got to get something back if you can. And it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case, which is going to be a real shame.
Yeah, and you talked about Atlanta. People have said the Chargers. I don't think they give up their top 10 pick for them, but I would take pick 37 from the Chargers or pick 43 from Atlanta early in the second round.
Absolutely.
That means the Patriots have pick 3, 34, and then another early second round pick. Like that would be
to trade up.
Yeah, and you could use both of those to get back up into first, say, someone's falling or whatever. The other one that, and it's actually interesting, I don't know if you heard this. Did you hear what Julian Edelman or the team Julian Edelman suggested he get traded to?
I did not.
The Dallas Cowboys. If they flake out in the playoffs early again, trade their pick, that's probably going to be like 28, 29, 30, get rid of McCarthy, Jerry Jones Desert. Now, I don't think it's likely. It's just interesting. Julian Edelman mentioned something like that. It would for sure give Bill an opportunity to get, 10 wins a year, if not more, and probably get the record in 2 seasons and have another chance at a Super Bowl. So it makes sense. Like if I'm Dallas, you have most of your pieces, right? That defense is set up. You have Dak Prescott. You have a great O-line and CeeDee Lamb you're going to have to re-sign. So why not go get the greatest coach of all time? That team is hand-picked. Bill Belichick just has to come in and coach him. So I don't know if him and Jerry could work together. It would be an interesting dynamic, but yeah, I would take their, late first round pick for Bill Belichick. And I think that's more than fair. If I think Cowboys fans, if Bill Belichick were to go and win them a Super Bowl, they wouldn't give a crap. It would be their first Super Bowl in 120 years. I don't know. I mean, they haven't had one in forever. So I don't think Cowboys fans would care if they gave up a first round pick for Bill Belichick if it brought him a Super Bowl. So there's options. I agree with you. I'll be so disappointed if they get nothing out of him. It just, to me, it makes no sense. It's going to be something that we'll be talking about for a while. How do you let the greatest coach of all time go and, not get anything for him when Sean Payton wasn't even coaching at the time and they were at least able to get a second round pick out of him? And wasn't it was some crazy thing like it could be a first or whatever. Anyways, it's got to be something. So let's talk about our dream scenarios, right? I think we both agree Vrabel would be there. If Bill were to stay, though, and somehow Vrabel were to get on this staff, like that would be a huge plus too. Obviously, Bill would have to give up GM rights for that to, fit for both of us. But, there's Josh McDaniels out there. No one wants Josh McDaniels as head coach, but he's been the best offensive coordinator the Patriots have had in the last 10 years. He's been one of the only 3. But our offense has been horrible since he's left. And I don't want anyone else developing a young quarterback other than Josh McDaniels. He's done it with Brady. He's done it with Mac Jones. He's been great. So if we're going to draft a young quarterback, somehow have Bill O'Brien be the OC, let Josh McDaniels work with the quarterbacks, and then, bring Vrabel in somehow. Maybe Vrabel's the head coach, and you can keep Gerard Mayo as DC, and him and Vrabel are working together. There's a lot of good options to bring guys back here. And I know people are going to be like, no, let's get some fresh thoughts in here. We don't need Josh McDaniels, but man, these guys know the Patriot way. If Bill Belichick's leaving, I think we're going to want some sort of, guy that's familiar. I don't think we're going to want to completely tear it down, but you're going to want some fresh new ideas. And I think Vrabel would at least bring that because he is kind of a player's coach.
Yeah. And I mean, getting like kind of finishing on the Belichick trade compensation thing, nothing for Brady, nothing for Bill. That's tough. But touching on what you were just talking about with Vrabel and the coaching staff and everything, I think it would be tough for Josh McDaniels and Bill O'Brien to be on the same staff.
Yeah.
I think there would be conflict there between one guy's ideas aren't getting taken and the other guys are, but they're not working, or vice versa. You know what I mean? There could be conflict in the locker room. Oh, well, this guy I feel like has better ideas, but this guy's leading. Like I just feel like it could stir up some things. And it seems like O'Brien's going to be back next year. Josh McDaniels, though, the reason I like him, like you said, I feel like he did a good job working with Mac. I also think he would bring continuity to the offensive coordinator position because he's not getting a head coaching job anytime in the next 10 years. I don't think. Like
he might never get one again.
Out. Yeah, he is
after
struck
the
out
Raiders
twice.
in Denver, yeah.
Badly. So I don't think he's getting a job. So he could be OC here for the next however long he wants to coach. You know what I mean? So I do like that aspect of it. So that's something I think would be good. I think if Belichick does leave, I think it'd be great to get an offensive coach in here, like Ben Johnson, OC for the Lions. I just don't think, based on reports, that Kraft is willing to do that. I think he wants to keep somebody with Patriots ties. And everybody with Patriots ties is basically a defensive guy who's up for a head coaching gig. So thinking or knowing if Belichick ends up leaving, knowing that, my top scenario, Vrabel as head coach. I think you could probably get Mayo to stay on as defensive coordinator for maybe a year or 2 years before he gets his own head coaching gig. I think Vrabel is one of the top 5 to 8 coaches in the NFL.
For sure.
He just won Coach of the Year 2 seasons ago. He went to the playoffs 3 times in a row with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. They went to an AFC championship game. Their defense is always good. The only thing I don't like is the offense has been really lame with Vrabel there. Not that it's necessarily Vrabel's fault, but something needs to change offensively. And the thing I like about Mayo is we don't know what he would do yet offensively. Yep. We don't know if he would put all of it into Bill O'Brien's hands and say, yep, you deal with it. But we could see something like that happen. And another thing, a report that just came out recently was the assistant GM, Adam Peters, for the San Francisco 49ers, has connections, has ties with Mike Vrabel, so that he's a leading candidate for GM jobs this year. You could see them as a pair come to New England, and that might be exciting. We definitely need a new GM. And if Belichick is going to be out the door, I think bringing a guy who cares deeply and, like you said, is a player's coach who can lead teams to win and to fight hard no matter what, I think Vrabel would be a great guy to be here. So my number one would be Vrabel. If Belichick leaves and we're not going to hire an OC or not going to hire an offensive head coach, I would say Vrabel, then Mayo, and then I would say Bill staying and hopefully giving up GM duties and hoping that works. But regardless, there's no reason that Belichick should be the general manager next offseason or have any control over personnel.
Yeah, 2 things before we kind of wrap up here. I know this is a little longer video, but Vrabel, he was willing to go out and sign off on signing DeAndre Hopkins, right? We all wanted Hopkins last year. He drafted a first-round receiver. Treylon Burks hasn't really turned out like that, right? He's had quarterback issues too.
One thing about the whole Treylon Burks thing, you saw how pissed off he was when their general manager traded A.J. Brown for Treylon Burks, basically, and like a 3rd-round pick. He values the wide receiver position. He values A.J. Brown. He values DeAndre Hopkins. We have not had a coach value a wide receiver in 20 years. You know what I mean? Belichick just hasn't cared about that. He just thinks you can get by with any QB and any wide receivers as long as you have a good defense. And that's not, you need to adapt. Another thing about Vrabel is he's 30 years younger than Bill, so you could have him here for a long time. Bill might have 3 years left tops. But yeah, I'll let you keep going. I just wanted to mention that. I felt like that was important.
Yeah, no, and the last couple things I was going to say is I think that this is really important for Robert Kraft because they just inducted him into the Patriots Hall of Fame while he was the head coach of another team. They flew him out on his bye week. He sat in Robert Kraft's box. He spoke so highly of this organization while he was the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. I think that speaks volumes because Robert Kraft is not going to part ways easily with Bill. Obviously, he built the franchise the way it is now, and they have such a good connection. But if he's going to get rid of Bill for anyone, I think it's got to be for Mike Vrabel, and they have that connection. So it'll be interesting. Again, guys, thank you for tuning in. A little longer of a video, a lot to unfold. Make sure you tune into our next live stream. Of course, we will be talking more about this. And if we get news in the next couple of days, it'll be real exciting. We'll have some stuff coming out. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on the whole Vrabel, Bill Belichick situation, what you'd like to see the Patriots do, and turn on that notification bell so you get notified when we post clips or when we go live. You guys can come chat with us, and we'll talk about that. So thank you guys, and we will talk to you next.